Welcome back to the Hero's Journey podcast. We're on episode number 41 already. I'm your host, Nick. Come on in, join me on the journey. Hero's Journey podcast. This is going to be great. Lots of fun comics to go through today. Let me see what we've got. I'll bring it up. We've got 10, and I just want to remind you that I go through these in order based on my spreadsheet. I don't skip around, jump around. This is the order that I feel from what I can tell, they were published in. And then just entered on my spreadsheet. I just work my way through. So here we go. All right. First up, we have All Winners number 13, Alex Schomburg cover. So you got lots of action going on here, of course. There's Human Torch is on the cover. So obviously he's blasting through some kind of looks like the bridge of a ship, maybe aircraft carrier. He's always blasting through something. It's an Alex Schomburg cover. I feel like it's part of his signature. Fun cover, lots going on. You can see a lot of shooting, planes being destroyed, Submariner pulling off the propeller, of course, because why not? All right, so in the first story, Human Torch and Toro put a stop to a plan for coercing female war workers to blow up their respective war factories. Oh, and this is from Timely Fall 1944. Should have started off by saying we're still into September of 1944. This is the quarterly month, so it takes a little longer to get through because I put in all the quarterly issues in there, such as the fall issues. And then the next story, Captain America and Bucky are captured by a doctor that crosses breeds of plants with humans. So, that's fun. Submariner busts up a gas station counterfeiting ring. Oh, I'm sorry, not a gas station. You can't. A gas ration counterfeiting ring. Jeez. Oh, I can't speak today. Submariner busts up a gas ration counterfeiting ring. Goodness. All right. I find that's interesting. I live in a world where rationing really isn't an issue. We don't need coupons or any kind of tokens to be able to buy goods for the most part. I mean, maybe I go to a store and they limit me to one per customer, but that's really as far as it goes. But that's not because we're trying to short supply or anything like that. Just usually that's because it was too good a deal and they want everyone to get some. In the final story, the Wizard saves the damsel in distress in Dr. Cruel's Maze of Madness. This issue, you have a recent CGC 4.5 sale from October of 2020 for $1,240. It's a pretty high sale for his book. Still not the book of the week, though. Let's move on. All right, this is one of the panels from the Submariner story. I thought it was interesting because he takes the kid's giving him some information, tells him to go to the Green Lantern Inn, which I thought was funny and timely issue. You have possibly a reference to a DC character. That can't be a coincidence, can it? Maybe the writer from this issue also worked on some DC books. I don't know. And if this also, to be fair, the Submariners or this issue that I was reading didn't have the greatest scan, so you'll have to pardon the images here. It's the best I could get. But I just found it interesting that and I've seen this a few times, Submariner is referred to as Whalebones. It's like his nickname, and bad guys come, oh, it's Whalebones. And so you see that being yelled out as he punches through the wall, punches some sort of screen. He was referred to as Whalebones a few times in this story. And then I've seen it a couple times as well. So I thought I'd show it off. Here's an interesting ad from that same issue. It's for the Miss America magazine that's coming up. So if you recall, we had Miss America Comics #1. That was featured a couple months ago, publication months ago. And then coming up, there's going to be a Miss America magazine. So that'll start at #2 to follow the numbering from Miss America Comics. I just found it Really interesting that this magazine, it is a magazine for girls only, teenage girls. And I'm gonna have to. Well, I'm looking forward to actually reading the Miss America story because I found her interesting so far in her appearances. So I will be reading a teen girl magazine. So there you go. And they're giving away $1,000 in cash prizes. So it seems like it's gonna be a lot of very interesting stuff in this issue. All right, I'll tell you all about it when I get there. I'm not jumping ahead. Okay, next up, we have a #1 issue, Amazing Comics #1. It's featuring the Young Allies as the fall issue, 1944 from Timely. It's an Alex Schomburg cover. So you got Toro, who's blasting through a wall, right? Signature move. Lots of shooting, lots of details, lots going on. Really impressive. Really great cover. I find that the trade dress works really well with the green theme throughout the rest of the cover. So it actually ties in really nicely. I like it. So yes, this is a new #1. Yes, it's been a while since we've had a new #1 that I've read through, and that's because this is from a time that's a lot different from the time we're in now. Where now, these days, if you want a new #1, you can just go to your local comic book shop any other week and pick up as a whole handful of #1s. Even from major publishers. Independent indies, sure, but major publishers always #1s going on. This is back in a simpler time when #1s were scarce. Now, to be fair, this is a #1. It's the only issue. So Amazing Comics doesn't continue. This does continue it's called Complete Comics, which will be issued is numbered #2. So Amazing Comics #1 turns into Complete Comics #2, and it doesn't continue after that. And it'll be the Young Allies and Wizard featured in that issue as well. But that's it. So it's a very short run. This is almost a one-shot at this point. So the Young Allies, looking for action, stow away on a military ship bound for India and end up taking down a Japanese magician and saving US soldiers on the front line. Wizard is able to handily defeat the crime clocker, even with a fake bank robbery and 2 other crimes being committed across town in under 1 minute. So these crimes are being committed in under 1 minute across town, and the crime clocker staged a fake bank robbery one end of town, hoping that the Wizard wouldn't even know what's going on and he could be bamboozled, but he did not fall for it and he still made it in plenty of time. For this issue, you have a recent CGC 9.0 sale from March of 2021, so very recently, it's a few weeks ago, for $3,050. It's a nice price tag for this issue. All right, next up is the ever popular on this podcast, Blue Beetle, my favorite punching bag. Blue Beetle #34 is from Fox, September 1944. Okay cover, doesn't jump out for me. Maybe it's the orange that just doesn't do it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just prejudiced, a little biased against these covers. Anyway, so you got 3 Blue Beetle stories in this one. The first one, Blue Beetle follows a package from spy to spy and then to a U-boat, and he ends up taking down a Nazi saboteuring. Blue Beetle must stop the menace of the body snatchers from Saturn. Weirdo story, why not? Blue Beetle has his hands full when desperate Nazis are set to unleash mindless creatures on the world. A lot of these stories, like I was talking about earlier in an earlier podcast, where there's a lot of final solutions from the Nazis in terms of like a last-ditch effort or a we're going to lay low and this is our plan B for later when we want to take a run at conquering the world again. For this book, you have a recent CGC 6.5 sale from January of 2021 for $350. So I found, okay, so there's a few things in this issue that I wanted to point out. We're gonna look at this page. The one thing that stood out for me on this page has nothing to do with the art. Art isn't actually the worst I've seen in this run. What stood out for me and I thought was kind of odd is that the beginning of pretty much every sentence starts with a bold letter, and all the proper nouns start with bold letters as well. So if you look at this page, I don't know what the plan was here, but this is throughout the whole story, throughout the whole issue, actually. They show bold letters for the first letter of each sentence. Now, I haven't seen that in any of the previous issues. This is just something they've decided to throw in here. It just kind of stands out as something odd. I mean, you've got all the exclamation points all over the place, right? This page and issues are littered with exclamation points. Now you're adding bold letters at the beginning of the sentences as well. So, all right, just write it normally. What? Anyway. All right, so I'm going to take a break from picking on Blue Beetle just to show off this ad that was in the issue. It's kind of fun contest. You can write in to Blue Beetle and tell them why you should show up in the comic book. So it says all you have to do is send in your name and address, a snapshot or photo of yourself, 30 words telling why you think you should be chosen. That's all there is to it. I know that because that's what it says. But it's great. So, you write into Blue Beetle, a little photo of yourself and tell them why you should show up in the issue. And then it looks like the artist will put you in the issue. I really hope they choose a good artist that can draw things properly, because goodness, hopefully it's not a mess. But I thought it'd be really fun. I thought that'd be really cool. Can you imagine? You could have your own very first appearance in a comic book. That'd be awesome. All right. Next up, we're back to not necessarily picking on Blue Beetle, but just pointing something out in the story here. So apparently, Blue Beetle in this particular story walks around with his costume in his pocket that is small. And then he has a micro Blue Beetle costume. And all he has to do is use one drop of Enlargo, and the costume swells up to regular size. He carries it around his pocket, pulls it out, little drop of this stuff, and poof, he can put on his costume. I mean, I guess it's more convenient than having to wear it underneath your regular clothes all the time. That'd be kind of bulky and annoying. But that's where you know what? This isn't actually a knock against the story. I've seen crazier things. It's almost reasonable compared to a lot of the things that we've seen in Blue Beetle in recent issues. All right, moving right along. Captain Marvel Adventures number 39. This is from Fawcett, September 1944. Okay cover. Kind of like it. I guess it's all the yellow. Maybe I'm partial to that. I don't know. It's got 4 Captain Marvel stories in this issue. Still, they're still thick books. Still a lot of stories in these. In the first one, Captain Marvel protects the man who inherited Pittsburgh until he decides to give it back to the people. Captain Marvel helps a determined old man to capture a Japanese sub with his garbage scows. This old man really wanted to be part of the Navy and join the military. And they were telling him he's too old, but he's really tenacious. Anyway, so he takes out his garbage scow and tries to capture a Japanese sub on his own. Anyway, Captain Marvel helps him out and he saves the day and he's a hero. Captain Marvel teaches some shipwreck survivors how to make the most of their situation on a deserted island, because they were spoiled and annoying, and they took off on a ship during wartime. They took off on a pleasure cruise during wartime, using resources and being out in the ocean. There's sea battles going on, and anyway, they ended up getting shipwrecked, and then they left society because they were tired of not being able to do whatever they wanted to do, which is actually, I'm not comparing wartime to the COVID situation that we've been dealing with. I am not, but I'm comparing their attitude of trying to get away and totally ignoring what's going on around them and being very selfish and just doing whatever is best for them, and flaunting the rules and just going out and doing their own thing. This is the sort of thing that we're seeing all over the place, all around the world. People just doing whatever the hell they want because they don't want to be in lockdown and be restricted in any way and not be able to do things. And I get it. It sucks. But I want to hope that we're getting towards the end of this thing and that we can all move on afterwards. All right, so that was a little too real for sure. Let's move along. So Captain Marvel plays along as he is accidentally cast in a movie that Mr. Mind is making about ruling the world. So this is chapter 18 out of 25 of the serial. And in the previous chapter, Captain Marvel ended up in Hollywood, and because they were making a movie and Captain Marvel wanted to help out, and now Mr. Mind has taken over making that movie, tried to get rid of Captain Marvel. Turned out that Captain Marvel got rid of the stand-in and filled in. Captain Marvel ends up being part of the filming, and that didn't work out well for Mr. Mind. All right, for this book, a recent CGC 8.5 sale from December of 2020 for $380. I'm thinking, again, I'm always thinking these Captain Marvel story books, decent books, I would think that they would get more on the secondary market, but I feel there's just so many of them. I mean, and between him and the rest of the Marvel family there's a lot out there. Okay, look, I put this panel in there. Nothing special. I was reading the stories and reading the issue, and I thought this panel, I thought it was a really striking panel. It's really neat. I thought it was great seeing Cannon Shell just crash against his chest. I thought the artist did a good job of putting it together. I thought it was well done. Like it. Just a compliment to the artist. That's all. All right. Cap Marvel Jr., number 23. It's from Fawcett, of course, September 1944. It's an okay cover. Like the last one where he was piloting a boat, I thought was okay too. It's there's a lot of detail in this cover, but I feel it all kind of blends in. Nothing really stands out. So a lot of detail is great, but it's just a matter of using your elements wisely. All right. So Captain Marvel Jr. captures a final solution of the Axis that is an invisible airship with advanced weaponry. So again, another final solution. Captain Marvel Jr. intervenes at a boys' sports convention. Captain Marvel Jr. intervenes at a boys' sports convention when two cheating crooks pose as a professor and student. Captain Marvel Jr. visits the zoo and the zookeeper poisons the water with a formula that transforms people into the animals they most resemble. And he ends up, first few people that end up drinking the water out of the water fountain that's tainted end up being crooks, and it all worked out. So Captain Marvel Jr. ended up catching the crooks. This issue had a recent CGC 5.5 sale from April of 2019, so 2 years ago from this recording, for $86. So you get a mid-grade Golden Age comic book for $86. I think you're doing pretty well. And if you consider, all I saw was that there were 3 sales of this book noted on CGC sales, and there are only 9 on the CGC census. Feels like kind of a rare book. Maybe the cover is just not doing it for people. I don't know. But it seems a little rare. Fine. Comic Cavalcade number 8. This is the fall 1944 issue from DC. Now, look, the Comic Cavalcade covers tend to be mostly fun covers, nothing too serious. And I gotta say, I kind of like this cover. I don't know why. It's a fun cover. Look like they're playing, having fun. Why not? But I mean, look, it's not like the best cover I've ever seen. It's just a fun cover. I like it because it's fun. Now, this issue includes the first story in cooperation with the East and West Association. Now, the East and West Association was formed during World War II with the aim of aiding the Allied war effort in Asia by helping Americans understand the culture and concerns of the people in China and India. Now, I would guess that this kind of issue would have been sent over to the soldiers on the front lines so they could read these types of stories and better understand where they are and the cultures that they're a part of. I thought it was really interesting that that's the kind of thing that was in there. Now, so this, it's an interesting time. The other interesting thing about this issue is that Hop Kerrigan's story is mostly silent, similar to that G.I. Joe Snake Eyes issue. This one's mostly silent. You have a few panels at the beginning, a few panels at the end with word bubbles, but the rest of the issue has none. And it's called the Psalm of the K Ration, which the K rations are the waterproof food supply that the soldiers would carry around so that, if they're desperate for food needed to eat, that they'd have something on them that they could get them by. And it was waterproof so that, if they're battling the elements in some form, the food wouldn't get spoiled and they could still use it. And so apparently the 23rd Psalm was included as a note in the ration, so that whoever was producing these things included in the rations just a written out Psalm number 23. Now, I'm not super religious. I'm just pointing out that this was in the issue. This is really one of the first times out of any of the stories that I've seen that religion is actually plays a part, other than having religious elements included. This is one where really, like there's a church here or a priest there or whatever, but this is really one where the story revolves around religion, and it's literally, it's called the Psalm of the K Ration, which I thought it's just interesting. Look, it's interesting and different because it doesn't seem like any other heroes or characters really dealt with any kind of politics or religion for the most part, which, to be fair, is how it should be. I'm not saying anything for or against it. All right, let's move on. So the stories that I read, Wonder Woman is drugged and almost marries Steve Trevor, then wakes up and rushes off to save him from gangsters. So she was having some sort of fever dream kind of thing after she was drugged, and looked like she was going to marry Steve Trevor. And then right before she's about to marry him, she wakes up and then has to save the day. Green Lantern and Doiby Dickles investigate a young rodeo superstar that is acting suspiciously and finds out he's giving away magazines that contain a gas and knock out unsuspecting victims. So apparently these gangsters had hired all these boys to give out free samples of magazines. And then once the magazines warmed up to the room temperature, it would release like some sort of gas that would knock out anyone nearby. And then so gangsters would come in and clear out the apartment home, whatever, while people were knocked out. Anyway, the gangsters were promising a brand new rodeo outfit to whichever boy could give out the most free samples. So that's why the superstar for this young rodeo superstar was involved. The Flash teams up with a Baron's descendant. The Flash teams up with a Baron's descendant, and they save a scientist and brings his fourth dimensional forceps to the. The word that's missing there. The Flash teams up with the Baron's descendant to save a scientist and bring his fourth dimensional forceps to the world. So this Baron's descendant was someone who felt like he needed to repay some kind of debt that had been he owed from generations back. Anyway, so he teams up with the Flash and he's doing his best to help him save some scientist, save his life, because some bad guys found out that this fourth dimensional forceps would be really beneficial for the stuff. So essentially, it's fourth dimensional. What's interesting is I was reading this and I thought, wow, this sounds really familiar. And sure enough, it's the same type of device used in Captain Marvel Jr. number 11. So if you guys have been paying attention, maybe you'd see that. So look, there's a DC book that was in a Fawcett book. So I don't even know if the writers were influenced or anyway by that, or if it's the same writer. But so these fourth dimensional force cells, basically, you could put it through a wall and they would come out the other, go inside. And, essentially bad guys could put it up to a safe. It would go through a safe door. You could pull out whatever you want from the safe through it because it goes through the fourth dimension. All right, for this book, you have a recent CGC 4.5 sale from October of 2020 for $350. Moving right along. Okay, now, this Daring Comics number 9 is from Timely, fall 1944 issue. Alex Schomburg cover. You got sharks on there for those. I know some people have shark covers. So this is probably one that's a little known, I would expect. Human Torch blasting through the wall. Again, I swear if you look back at, I almost should put out a contest for anyone to find a Alex Schomburg cover featuring the Human Torch where he doesn't blast through a wall. Kind of fun to do. Okay, so this issue, it's number 9. However, the numbering is continued from the 1940s series of Daring Mystery Comics, which ended in 1942. Daring Mystery Comics went from issue 1 to 8, and it changed it ended up changing to a funny book. But the numbering from this superhero book follows. So we got Daring Mystery Comics, and then it goes to Daring Comics. So this is, how do you want to call this, volume 2? But it's the first issue in this run, and there will be more issues. So Submariner is out for revenge after the Nazis bomb Atlantis, and he takes down a Nazi base in the Antarctic. The Human Torch and Toro put an end to a scheme by Nazis to flood the US with counterfeit money. Submariner investigates explosions around and finds that tainted paint is the root cause. It's going all around the country. Tainted paint is being used to blow things up. The Human Torch and Toro head to Turkey to rescue an American engineer working to upgrade Turkish armaments. All right, for this book, you have a recent CGC 6.0 sale from December of 2019 for $2,250. That's a fair chunk of change for a 6.0, and that is still not our book of the week. A lot of issues commanding fair dollars in this run of 10 issues that we're doing this week. All right, so look, this is fun. Again, not the greatest scan of this issue, but check it out. Submariner, he goes to buy a suit. And of course, he has to pay for the suit because he's, law abiding. And if you look on the right-hand panel, he's pulling out money from what looks like a fanny pack. How cool is that? With his big S on it. That's awesome. So did he start the fanny pack trend? Who knows? But money belt, whatever you want to call it, looks like a fanny pack. I love it. So it's the Submariner's fanny pack. That's why I was showing it. Okay, moving right along. Detective Comics number 91. It's from DC, fall of 1944. And you guessed it, Big Red Star, big book of the week. I think you can all probably tell why it's the big book of the week. Got Mr. Joker himself on the front cover, right? Now, this doesn't seem like one of the more memorable Joker covers that I've ever heard of or seen. I feel like I know some of them. I may not know all of them. I don't remember seeing this cover beforehand. Good Joker cover nonetheless. All right, so the Joker breaks out of jail after playing a series of pranks on himself, supposedly, but it's all a front so he can break out of jail. And then he attempts to pull off heists with a series of pranks. But Batman and Robin see him back to prison. Batman and Robin, obviously, cut through the crap and see through his little practical jokes. So for this book, you have a recent CGC 7.0 sale from April of 2021. So just this month of this recording for $5,040. It's impressive. It's impressive. Flash Comics number 57, DC, September 1944. I have to say, this is actually one of the better covers for Flash Comics that I've seen in a long, long time. I really like it. I don't know what this cover reminds me of specifically, but I really like it. It's like mysterious, but action. What's going on? I'll tell you, I don't know what the spiderweb has to do with anything on the cover, though. Spiderweb, those aren't featured in the Hawkman story or any of the other stories for that matter. But the Flash and Winky, Blinky, and Naughty teach a spoiled brat to behave. That's really the crux of that one. Johnny Thunder watches Peachy Pet single-handedly foil a train robbery, which turns out to be a scene for a movie, and then she gets hired as a stunt person. Another kind of goofy Johnny Thunder story with some characters that are becoming more grating than entertaining at this point. How we persevere. Hawkman and Hawkgirl solve the mystery of the gangster being haunted by his dead rival. This issue, the recent CGC 4.0 sale from June of 2020 for $259. Look, if you're going to get a book for the cover out of this run, I'm going to say this should be in your top few contenders. Green Lantern, number 13, is the fall 1944 issue from DC. I like this cover in terms of the color, the elements, the newsprint in the background. That all works. Really like it. The drawing of Alan Scott, Green Lantern, on the cover is, I don't know, that action shot just seems out of place. Everything else I can excuse or work with, but he's missing a shadow too. You've got these, him and Doby Dickles don't have a shadow, and you got these big shadows for the other three people on the cover, but Doby Dickles and Green Lantern, I get that it would take away from newsprint, but it's just something quite a little bit off to my vision. I was looking at this issue. Apparently, this is the first issue to take place in Gotham City for Green in this series. Okay, didn't know why not. In the first story, Green Lantern and Doby Dickles are fooled by crooks looking to get to a star witness. So yeah, they like a Green Lantern story. He makes it seem like he's following along the whole time. But I'm going to chalk it up to he was fooled, and he figured it out later on. Some crooks gave him like this big song and dance about how they're trying to rescue some scientist, explorer, friend of theirs. Anyways, turns out that they actually needed Green Lantern to break into a hideout that was used for a star witness that they were trying to get to. Green Lantern saved Doby Dickles from being killed by the gang led by the Lord Ha-Ha of crime. So this guy, Lord Ha-Ha, modeled after real-life Nazi propaganda broadcaster from World War II. So this guy was a real guy. I think it was named William Joyce. I didn't read all the details about him, but it sounded familiar, so I looked up this Lord Ha-Ha. And this guy was hanged, I believe, shortly after World War II for broadcasting Nazi propaganda. And this guy was spreading crime directions through his radio broadcasts that his gang would pick up. Anyway, Green Lantern becomes frustrated when his vacation plans are ruined by a selfish and airheaded debutante. For this issue, you have recent CGC 4.0 sale from March of 2021 for $520. Well, that's it. That's 10 issues. We had some firsts, which are kind of like a one shot. We had a new series continuing some numbering from a few years ago. We have some timely books, a lot of Schomburg covers. We have some Marvel Family, of course. Blue Beetle. Got to poke some fun at Blue Beetle again. I mean, heck, look, I like poking fun at him. Look, this is just, I'm not taking this too seriously. It's just some of the things just make me shake my head. But overall, it's all good fun. And yeah, we had a couple of issues that contained some fairly heavy subjects. So I apologize if that didn't keep it light enough. But it is what it is. It's the time they were in. It was World War II. So, I mean, you know, it's a lot of heavy subjects during that time. Can't really escape it and get away from that. All right, that's 10 issues for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate any comments and feedback. And we'll see you next time. Let's see what next issues I'll be reading. Look at that spreadsheet and find out. Thanks. Take care.